Interface floor is a great story. Ray Edwards, the CEO of Interface, was going along just great, and carpeting is a petrol-based product. Profitable company, all is fine until he sees a presentation by McDonough, I believe it was, on the Cradle to Cradle, and this light bulb goes off. And Edwards wants to find a way to make his product more sustainable. He's doing this purely from an environmental point of view. Of course, he needed to keep the company profitable, but the interesting thing that happened was after going through this process and making the product more environmentally friendly, but also creating a take-back program. So after you are through with your carpet tiles, you can send them back to Interface, and they will then turn them into new tiles, so they're totally recyclable. They have a reclamation program and a system to ship them back and have them turned into new carpet. But what happened was not only did they do a great thing by recycling these carpet tiles, but they also saw that their costs went down and their profits went up. That wasn't the goal in going through this whole transformation. It was just really because Ray Edwards felt that this was a really important thing to do. Excuse me, a responsible thing to do. So it's a pretty interesting case study that actually becoming more eco-friendly could become more profitable. And the other thing was, it was a pretty novel idea to reduce waste by having carpet tiles. So if you had a spot on one part of the carpet, you could just replace that one tile instead of having to replace the whole carpet. Major strategies: reduce, reuse, design for durability, and design for reuse. Let's look at those. So when you look at design for durability, you've probably seen the Dyson commercials, and the thinking is that a higher quality is longer lasting. It means it'll need less service and repair. You won't upgrade as often. You might need components, and you might want to use a rental system that offers components, but basically you won't dispose of as many because you're buying a higher quality product. Design for reuse. So these are basically bottles that were redesigned into vases, and it doesn't look like there's any adornment, so it'll be very easy for them to be recycled back into bottles. It's one color of glass, which will make it easy to melt down and turn into some other glass object. This is a great example. I don't know about you, but I remember as a kid, my mom used to buy jelly in jars like this that would have like the Flintstones on it. We couldn't wait to finish the jelly, because then jelly or jam, because then I got to drink my juice out of a Flintstones cup, and that was really exciting. Major strategies for recycling are design for disassembly. That's what I talked about in the mirror chair. Close the loop, which means that any way that you can help someone recycle, so whether it means having a bin at Staples to collect used printer cartridges is really important. So close the loop in recycling, and design for effectiveness. So how can a product be effective and be recycled less, but still be recyclable at the end of its use? So this rickshaw bag is called the Zero Bag. It's kind of interesting. These are custom designed. You order it and they're then put into production, and that's actually something called the Toyota or lean production method, or just in time. So they don't waste product or energy creating inventory that may not get bought. They create just what's needed. They label the components so that the components can be disassembled and recycled at the end. So the buckle you can see on the strap would go to a different place than the rest of the bag. And it says uni-material components, means all the components are made of one type of material. So probably the piping on the outside of the bag is the same component as the bag itself. So they could be recycled together. They're not the same color, which perhaps could be a little bit of a challenge, but they thought through this whole process of how this bag would be disassembled at the end of its use and be able to be recycled. Ways to design for disassembly. Use material identification labels. Avoid permanently attached dissimilar materials. So that's snap-on back of the chair instead of something that's fused onto, or welded together, designed for ease of disassembly. Snap versus screws, obviously, or welding. Use only one type of polymer per product, one polymer combination per product. If necessary, use compatible combinations of polymers. Those three refer to, as I mentioned, when you go to melt down a polymer and you want to be able to reuse it for something else later. Avoid paints and lacquers. Those can create problems in the meltdown or recycling of something. Avoid labels or use compatible labels. You see more and more labels printed onto things, and that can be a good way to get the labeling information onto a product but make it easy to recycle. Choose high-value plastic. Those plastics actually are more recyclable than the lower grade plastics. And avoid density overlaps between different polymers. That's something a little scientific beyond my means, but obviously that has an impact on how easy it is to recycle something. Different ways to close the loop in the process. I'm not going to spend time on this, but as I mentioned, it can be something as simple as putting in one more station like that refinery up top that helps close the loop along the entire chain of what has to happen for something to recycle. Design for effectiveness. Here's another rickshaw bag. So they process redesign, they have a take-back program, and eco-industrial parks, industrial estates. I'm not actually sure what that refers to. We'll have to look that up. I've actually posted a link to a story about the rickshaw bags within your discussion area, so you can have a look at that if that's of interest. So the major strategies, again, are reduce, reuse, recycle, and restore. Sustainable strategies. So these are designed for systems. This happens to be a bus station in Curitiba, Brazil. One of my students last semester actually lives in this area and told us that these bus stations, actually the tubes to the left, are people moving tubes that help move traffic during rush hour or busy traffic times onto the buses to board them and keep the buses moving on schedule. Kind of an attractive looking, intriguing design. So here's a checklist for sustainable strategies. Provide more for less. Focus on efficiency and health. Use and promote local energy resources and labor. Don't use PVC. Try and use better quality. Remember, less bad does not mean it's good. Design solutions to be savored. So great solutions are worth savoring. Don't spend more declaring your results than the value they provide. So whether that's in your marketing or in your corporate sustainability reports, stick to what's important. So next steps, here are a couple of other books that you might be interested in. This first one on the left, Design is a Problem, is the one that we've been going through. Cradle to Cradle is the William McDonough book. Natural Capitalism, I believe I mentioned, Hunter Lovins and Paul Hawken. Leading Change Towards Sustainability is by Bob Doppelt, with a foreword by William McDonough. The Next Sustainability Wave, if you're interested in building boardroom buy-in. And Plan B 2.0 is rescuing a planet under stress and a civilization in trouble. So look forward to your comments on this in the discussion area.